So I'm sure by now a lot of you have heard about Dr. Sebi, dying or being murdered, whichever it is that you want to look at it. Now, according to his daughter on Twitter, he was arrested at the airport in Honduras for having $37,000 in his possession. The police department in Honduras claimed he was already unwell and state he died of pneumonia in police custody. I find this really ironic that he's been curing the biggest diseases for years, and yet they expect us to believe that he died of pneumonia. Something isn't right. Even funnier than that is that $37,000 really isn't that big of an amount of currency to warrant somebody going to jail or being arrested. To my knowledge, it's normally if you don't declare having more than $10,000 on your person, then they can either confiscate the money or not. So why would you arrest somebody for having $37,000? I'm sure he would have declared it, and had he not declared it, wouldn't they tax that money? Wouldn't they confiscate it? But to arrest him? I don't know. But let's dig a little deeper. There's been reports of over 50 holistic doctors having died in the past year. Why? I mean, if these doctors are so great at curing all these diseases, then surely they could cure themselves, right? What's pneumonia to someone who can cure AIDS, cancer, lupus, or herpes, right? Sometimes in life we have to look at the common denominating factor. Over the past year, a lot of doctors who claim to be able to cure AIDS and cancer, amongst other life-threatening diseases, have died. These diseases that they claim to be able to cure are diseases that keep big pharmaceutical companies in big money. They've been allegedly trying to cure cancer and AIDS for decades. They're constantly asking for money for cancer research, and yet, no cure. But they do have the treatment. Treatment that costs stupid amounts of money. But this treatment doesn't cure the disease, it just keeps you alive. And in order to stay alive, you have to keep taking the medication. Even with cancer, there are people that have cancer and then they become cancer free, right? But the cancer never truly goes away. They still have to keep going back to the doctors. They still have to take treatment. And in some cases, sadly, the cancer returns. It's like that hair regrowth product, Regain or Rogaine. It will, without a doubt, grow hair on your head. But once you stop using it, all that hair falls straight out. You can use it, but you'll have to use it for life. Now, I'm sure they know how to give you permanent results, but why would they do that when they can keep you spending money forever? There's no real money in the cure, but the treatment, that's where the money's at. Why cure AIDS or cancer when they can just treat you just enough to keep you alive? That's when you need them. Once they cure you, no more money for them. Now, over the years, I've heard a lot of people call Dr. Sebi a fake, a fraud, or even a greedy money-grabbing con artist. So, in 1988, he was sued for false advertisement and practice without a license after he placed a bunch of ads in newspapers, including the New York Post. So the Attorney General of New York took him to a Supreme Court trial. And before the trial began, he was asked to produce a witness per disease that he alleged to have cured, right? And after 77 people joined him in court with documented evidence of them having the diseases prior to, meeting Dr. Sebi, and then being tested and find out that they no longer have any of the diseases, he was declared not guilty and therefore proved, in fact, that he cured all diseases mentioned in the press. It was then proven many times that he really could cure these diseases. Was he all about the money? Alright, granted, Dr. Sebi's cures were very expensive, but in comparison to the amount of money that we or the hospitals, depending on what part of the world you live in, pay for the treatment, what Dr. Sebi charged was nothing. Once you paid for this treatment once, that was it. However, with Western medicine, you're trapped forever. But it's deeper than that. Dr. Sebi simply stumbled on the truth. The truth that our bodies, with the help of what grows naturally on the land, has the ability to cure itself of anything. It's just he was willing to research this. If we took our time to research the healing powers of organic natural foods, we wouldn't need to pay anyone for anything. There are books after books about this already, but too many of us are too dubious and suspicious of what God has given us on the land in order to heal ourselves. We'd rather go to a pill. Funnily enough, have you ever noticed that pills are the same shape as seeds? This isn't a coincidence. My dad used to say that Western medicine is good for diagnosing the issue, but natural is the way forward. A doctor will tell you what's wrong, then once you know what's wrong, you go and treat yourself. Medication only makes you worse in the long run. All the side effects, all the complications. Dr. Sebi and many of these other holistic doctors have simply opened the doors for us to read and research more. I don't need to pay anyone anything if I'm willing to do the research myself. But if I'm not willing to do the work myself, then yes, I'll need to pay. Now, the thing about Dr. Sebi is he told you and he stated that he's never been to school in his life. And I'm telling you, for those of you who have never seen his interviews, that man is smarter than the smartest doctor I know. Here's the thing about schools. You don't get educated in schools. You get trained. Self-knowledge is much more important than being taught by someone else and being led to believe that everything they say is facts because it's in their books. So therefore you need to learn their ways. And anything that you do outside of their ways is wrong. All I know is nowadays, medicine has no intention to treat. Their only goal is to keep you alive with whatever disease while you depend on the shit they're selling you to relieve your pain. Today, medicine is business. I believe Chris Rock said it. I might be wrong, but there's no money in the cure. The money is in the treatment. So Dr. Sebi was arrested for allegedly carrying too much cash in the airport. He then dies in custody due to health complications. Do we believe this? See, this is a real problem. Our being, our potential, our existence is so threatening that we're being killed like flies. He was easily one of the most inspirational, knowledgeable, authentic humans that ever lived. He didn't even get the mainstream recognition, respect, or even acknowledgement he deserved. He was a pathologist, a biochemist, and the epitome of a humanitarian. His dedication, research, knowledge, and courage has cured millions, whether it's been physically, mentally, or emotionally. These illnesses, cancer, AIDS, sickle cell, epilepsy, and a whole bunch of other life-threatening diseases that have been created and used to generate millions of pounds, dollars, euros to find research for cures at the expense of human life at our expense. But these cures were discovered over 30 years ago by Dr. Sebi and proven. This man has emancipated people from slavery, the slavery that stops us from questioning, the slavery that makes us assimilate the mainstream lies. He allowed us to take control of our health and freedom from the mental indoctrination. And as the world becomes more health conscious and knowledge is so easily accessible, it's inevitable that Dr. Sebi would be recognized and honored the way he deserves. A black man curing cancer? A black man curing AIDS? Impossible. Really? Nah. Pharmaceutical companies are responsible for far too much of the world's income to be threatened. So what do you think huge pharmaceutical companies who rely on these diseases and the treatments would do? Especially the fact that recently he became more and more open about having a cure for AIDS. And now he's dead? And you know now they're going to do him like they do with everything that they kill. They're going to say that he was sick, possibly on drugs. You know, something dumb to try and hide the truth from us. But the smart people that follow him, the smart people that are aware, that are awoke, know the truth. This man had a baby a few years ago. He wasn't sick at all. Let's be real. All I need to say is he did die. And he did die of a disease. He died of police custody. Because police custody is one hell of a disease, killing almost every black person faster than any other chronic disease. Rest in power, King Sebi. Your legacy lives. You can follow me on Instagram at angel_IKYG. You can follow me on Twitter at angel_IKYG. There'll be links in my description to my Facebook, my website, and whatever else may be there.